Now at 9, PSU fans had a chance to meet their favorite Pitt State football players. We'll take you there. Plus, folks in Carthage raced to the finish line at the annual paddle battle at Kellogg Lake. And the George Washington Carver National Monument celebrates its birthday with the 7th annual Storytelling Day.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Elise Noe. An Arkansas man is dead and a woman is injured after a crash on I-44 in Joplin. Police say it happened around 11 this morning near mile marker 6. They say 32-year-old Ryan Malone was driving east at a high rate of speed when he went off the road, hit a guardrail, went down a ditch, then over the I-44 mainstream on-ramp before traveling down an embankment. Malone died from his injuries. A female passenger sustained moderate injuries. In Oklahoma, a teen has died after a shooting at a high school football game on Friday night. It's unfortunately not the first case of violence this year as the season gets underway. Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis has more.
Security at high school football games nationwide is top of mind, especially after shooting incidents like the one on Friday night in Choctaw, Oklahoma. Police say 3 people were shot, including a 16-year-old male who has since died from his wounds. Fans were ducking in the stands and players and coaches dropped to the ground on the field for cover. There have been no arrests. Police say the gunshot started after an argument between at least 2 males. 2 guns and 8 rounds were found at the scene. A person of interest is described as a tall black male wearing red sweatpants. Here in Atlanta last week, an 18-year-old senior was shot 3 times in an attempted robbery in the parking lot of a high school football game. He may never walk again. Area schools have added safety measures, including metal detectors and a clear bag policy. Metal detectors were not in place at the high school football game in Choctaw, Oklahoma, but police officers were on scene and one officer even fired a shot. In Atlanta, Georgia, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Chris Warner joins us for a first look at weather.
Yeah, we had a pretty decent day, still a little warm and muggy for some of us out there. In fact, we even had some excessive heat warnings and heat advisories for some of our southern counties. We got a little more muggy than the rest of us. Skywatch Storm Tracker earlier this evening clear, but of course we did have some scattered showers and thunderstorms that made it through the overnight hours and into the early morning. Now the bulk of the thunderstorm activity is off to our east. We started the day 10 degrees above average at 76, but we only made it into about 90 degrees, so only 1 degree off of where we should be for this time of year, and that's great compared to the last couple of days. 100 on Thursday, 101 on Friday, and then take a look into the future. Temperatures starting to dip below average out there. We're going to take a look at your full forecast and how long those below average temperatures will stick around here in just a few more minutes.
It was a festive day full of fun for those who attended the Pitt State Meet and Greet hosted by Ron's Supermarket. The event was a kids festival, though fans of all ages were able to meet their favorite PSU players. The festival is the first of its kind, but Ron's Supermarket is hoping that this is just the beginning.
This year we are ramping up our community involvement, and one of the big things that we are looking for is to get support for PSU and PSU to support our community.
Fans had the chance to have their memorabilia signed and were able to enjoy food and beverages. Baxter Springs City Hall today hosted a meet and greet for the community. The purpose of the event was to educate the community on how their local government works. It included coffee, donuts, and appearances from various representatives from police and fire departments, community activists, local businesses, and the city government.
We had so many citizens that had questions from different areas in the city. So my city superintendent and I put together this event so that we've got all of our departments here.
The event ran from 9 a.m. and concluded at 11 a.m. Today, the George Washington Carver National Monument hosted their 7th annual Storytelling Day. The event celebrates the park's 107th birthday. It allows the public to come and listen to stories from all across the world. Today, there were 3 storytellers portraying characters from the Underground Railroad, Africa, and the Cherokee tribe.
We must continue to use stories to talk, to teach lessons, to teach what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, to have fun, to record history. So storytelling is very important to every person.
What we have to do as human beings is to understand that this ancient art form called storytelling, it didn't just come along with the moth on NPR. It's been around.
The George Washington Carver Museum is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. If you're looking to add paddle boat winner to your resume, Carthage has just the event for you. Today they hosted their annual paddle battle. KOAM's Jasmine Knight has the story.
At Kellogg Lake, Carthage hosted the 2023 Paddle Battle. Teams represented by different local businesses get together to construct and then race their very own paddle boat.
The rules are basically the rafts have to be of homemade construction, no element of a factory-built boat of any sort. A lot of the boats they just do like 4 barrels and a platform and they just paddle.
This event was hosted by Vision Carthage, an organization that prides itself in the beautification of Carthage, Missouri.
Vision Carthage actually started in 2011. A jury study was done over the city of Carthage just on some different things that we could do to just beautify and better the community. And from there was a board that was created.
Paddle Battle also features various food trucks, clothing, and other activities, with all proceeds going towards Vision Carthage.
We really just want to be able to use the proceeds to support us in our endeavors with our different projects and our programs that we offer throughout the year.
As for the next Paddle Battle, the event is free to the public to check out. Or, if you're looking to race, now's the time to start thinking about what award you would like to win.
It's pretty much open to their own creativity, what type of boat they build. We do awards for the fastest, but also the most creative. We do an award for the one that's the most likely to sink and so on. So really we're just here for fun.
So even if you're the most experienced paddler or just here for the ride, the 2023 Carthage Paddle Battle has everything for you. Reporting in Carthage, Jasmine Knight, KOAM News.
You can check out Carthage Paddle Battle's Facebook page for more information on the next battle. Body and Soul Transformation Fitness Center in Joplin held a Health and Hope showcase for the community today. It included fitness classes, a kids zone, open gym, and raffle prizes with merchandise discounts. The event was an opportunity for Joplin residents to get to know the center and staff members.
We want everybody in the community just to feel welcome and to have a family-friendly environment. So that's what we try to offer here, is something for everybody in the family from, ages 5 to 100. We have a kids zone and just want a family-friendly atmosphere.
Vendors were set up around the gym promoting different health and wellness businesses. Ride for Autism kicked off this morning in Joplin. The ride started at Cycle Connection and ended at Happy Jack's Tavern in Seneca. The rides were free to the public. Ride for Autism t-shirts and merchandise were available, and all proceeds went to area school foundations to create sensory rooms for individuals with autism.
The proceeds from our event today is going to go to the autism community. So whether it's swimming lessons or water safety, physical fitness and awareness for being physically fit as an autistic person. And then, of course, we're always going to donate back to our local schools and their foundations.
Over 20 area businesses sponsored or donated items. Chris Warner is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, we'll take a look at how the summer weather has impacted theme parks.
Well, we did end up having some excessive heat warnings and a couple of heat advisories out there, mainly for our southern counties, because after our morning rain, we were left with some somewhat muggy conditions out there. But the good news is it didn't last long. Those were cleared out. They were going to expire at 7, and they were out before 7. And we've got an absolutely beautiful next several days across the area. So as we head through the rest of this evening and into the overnight, future track, we've run it through a couple couple of things, and it is having a hard time picking up on it, but we could see a stray shower or thunderstorm overnight tonight into the very early morning hours on our Sunday. And then through our Sunday, we're looking at partly cloudy skies and the possibility of a stray shower or two. But for the most part, we are going to remain dry, and we are going to remain cool as well over the next several days. And I mean, it's still going to be warm, but by cool, I mean below average. We also are keeping an eye on tropical depression number 10 out in the Caribbean as this begins to move on off. The movement's been relatively stationary, but it is eventually expected to track off to the northeast into the Gulf and toward parts of Florida, and it is expected to strengthen to hurricane strength at 75-mile-an-hour winds as it moves into the Gulf and heads toward the Florida Panhandle and into southern Georgia. It could still be tropical storm strength before it eventually begins to weaken as it heads off into the Carolinas. So something folks down to the south definitely keeping an eye on as this tropical depression continues to strengthen. So our rain chances over the next 24 hours, this is what I'm talking about. They're very slight, but again, a stray shower or two possible with better chances for maybe a shower or thunderstorm as we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Check it out. Looking at lows about 70 tonight. Could see some gusty winds as well. Northeast 5 to 10, maybe gusting upwards of about 25 miles an hour. As we head into tomorrow, again, for the most part, we should be dry, but we could see a stray shower. Otherwise, partly cloudy, 84, so below average by about 5 degrees. And we'll see a northwest breeze at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And going through our Sunday, take a look at this. Just absolutely beautiful. We're talking almost 20 degrees cooler than where we spent the majority of last week. And again, our rain chances, just a closer look, 7 to 7 tomorrow. You can see where we have just those ever so slight rain chances out there across the area. So otherwise, better chances in the morning. We're talking low to mid 80s as we kick into next week. So again, keep in mind our average high is about 89 degrees for this time of year, and we are well below that. Partly cloudy skies looking great, and some of our overnight lows, look at that, dipping back into the upper 50s and lower 60s. So you'll finally be able to give your air conditioner a break out there and save a little money on your electric bill. And as we head into the weekend, we are looking to warm back up slightly above average as we start to go low to mid 90s, but still not anything like the triple digits we've seen over the last week and a half across the area.
Coming up, interest rates are expected to climb. We'll have the details. And some Americans are turning to AI to help with an important task. There's not much fun in the sun at theme parks this summer, thanks to one mean culprit. Data from financial services provider Macquarie Group shows theme parks are seeing fewer customers because of the weather. Parks say bad conditions like extreme high temps, excessive rainfall, and Canadian wildfire smoke have led to a drop in attendance. The chairman of the Federal Reserve says further interest rate hikes will be necessary for the continued strength of the U.S. economy. Jerome Powell says he will keep the Fed's key rate elevated until price increases are reduced to the central bank's 2% target. All of this comes as President Biden tries to convince Americans his economic plan is working. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Ducey has details.
I've been to Tahoe before.
On the eve of a return to D.C., President Biden claims not to know anything about recent reports that his lawyers are negotiating terms of an interview with the special counsel investigating allegations of mishandling classified documents.
There's no such request and no such interest.
Interest rates may soon go up in the latest announcement from the Fed.
We are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate.
Markets tanked after Powell spoke, but later recovered. And critics are just as concerned about the Fed's plans for a digital currency, or CBDC. The Fed's website says the Federal Reserve is committed to ensuring the continued safety and availability of cash and is considering a CBDC as a means to expand safe payment options, not to reduce or replace them. Republican Congressman Warren Davidson warns the Federal Reserve is building the financial equivalent of the Death Star. Central bank digital currency corrupts money into a tool for coercion and control. Digital currency hasn't made much of a splash in the presidential race yet, but rising mortgage rates have.
If interest rates are over 7% on a 30-year fixed mortgage, that ain't going to work.
My daughter just got married. I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home.
High interest rates, inflation, these things are choking every American.
Economic issues dominated the first Republican debate.
I probably saw at least an hour and 20 minutes. I don't remember them speaking to any of the issues.
He does remember the Trump mugshot.
I did see it on television.
What'd you think?
Handsome guy.
Vice President Harris hosted the WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces today, and she told the team President Biden could not make it as originally planned. And when she said that, the first family was in a Pilates class for the second time this week. At the White House, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
Up next, a fall favorite is getting a kickstart ahead of the autumn season. Businesses around the country are brewing up a taste of fall before the summer's over. The popularity of pumpkin spice has exploded in recent years, especially in your daily coffee. Fox News reporter Jake Carolexes is in Seattle, where this craze is brewing.
We know it shows up every year when the season starts to turn, but demand has gotten so high that some businesses aren't waiting around for fall.
It definitely goes on the menu for as long as possible.
The Birds Coffee Company is gearing up for its second fall since opening. Manager Kristen Johnson says pumpkin spice is a top priority.
Our system shows exactly what drink gets sold the most, and if you look between September to October, probably going into November, it'll be the top sold item, like even over a mocha.
Pumpkin spice swirled its way onto the coffee scene in 2003. Its popularity soon skyrocketed, and now it's in foods like donuts, muffins, and even goldfish crackers. Recent data from Nielsen valued the industry at more than $500 million in 2019. Dr. Jadrian Wooten from Virginia Tech University says businesses across the country are noticing how popular pumpkin spice is with customers and thought it made sense to start offering it earlier.
Most coffee and sort of coffee sales is really strong in the winter and October to February, and it kind of dies down in the summer. And so this is an opportunity, especially sort of that creeping back into the summer, help sort of start those winter sales earlier.
Johnson is building out an entire section of the menu around pumpkin spice this year.
Last year I had the pumpkin spice latte on there and then maybe one other item. I think this year I'll probably make like 5 drinks, like a cold brew, a latte, a frap, we'll get crazy with it.
Pumpkin spice is available as soon as late July or early August, but Wooten says coffee shops might not introduce it any earlier to make sure demand doesn't peak too soon. In Seattle, Jake Carolexes, Fox News.
30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Nearly 60 years since the historic March on Washington, and yet the battle for civil rights continues here in Washington today. I'm Kevin Cork, and I'll have that story and much more coming right up.
6 decades since Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, the fight continues to preserve and expand civil rights in America. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork has that story from Washington, D.C.
A crowd of thousands filling the National Mall on Saturday, marking 60 years since the March on Washington. The rally considered one of the most impactful civil rights demonstrations in U.S. history. About 250,000 people were on hand that day for Dr. King's historic I Have a Dream speech. Today, several of his descendants joined marchers in carrying on the fight. Leaders say the event is not a celebration, but a reassertion of the demands made on that momentous day in 1963.
We must preserve, protect, and expand democracy. We must ensure that voting rights is protected for all people. We must ensure that our women and children are treated fairly. We must end gun violence.
Since then, a tremendous amount of progress has been made in civil and voting rights, and more diverse representation in education, politics, and the workforce.
You can go to any school that you want to go to now,
live in any neighborhood, marry anybody that you want.
But organizers say there's still a lot of work left to be done to fully realize King's dream.
We are still in the struggle. We're still fighting the battles. We're still trying to integrate into a society that did not accept us in the beginning.
Dr. King's children have been invited to the White House for the official anniversary, which happens on Monday. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
New waves of COVID-19 could yield more money for vaccines and a possible new fall shot. President Joe Biden says he's planning to ask Congress for more funding for COVID-19 vaccines. Manufacturers such as Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax are currently preparing new rounds of vaccines of the XBB strain, and a new annual fall COVID shot could become a reality as cases rise again.
Get vaccinated. Update your COVID vaccine. It's incredibly effective, but the truth is not enough people are getting it.
Last fall, the president asked for $9.25 billion, in funding, but was denied. A Republican congressman wants a select committee to investigate UFOs. Congressman Tim Burchett is also asking the nation's top intelligence officials to turn over information about whether the country is in possession of alien technology. All of this comes on the heels of last month's major hearing on the subject. Fox News congressional correspondent Aisha Hasni has details.
If the truth really is out there, right now it's out of reach. So says Congressman Tim Burchett.
We're going to uncover the cover-up.
After a blockbuster hearing on UAPs with former Air Force intelligence officer and whistleblower David Grush, which drew one of the largest crowds ever on Capitol Hill, Congressman Burchett, Matt Gaetz, Jared Moskowitz, and Anna Paulina Luna asked Speaker Kevin McCarthy to hand them a select committee with subpoena powers. But so far, crickets from McCarthy.
I wouldn't say obstructing, but they feel like this is a distraction.
That's why Burchett launched a new bipartisan UAP caucus this week, which sent a letter to the Intelligence Community Inspector General demanding information about the crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs alleged by Grush.
I can't discuss that publicly. That's something I can't discuss. I can't go beyond what I've already espoused publicly about that.
Lawmakers are also trying to get Grush inside a classified setting so he can speak more freely. But Burchett wants to keep things declassified and available to the American people. And as for anyone who thinks UAPs are a laughing matter,
I get the UFO question? Come on.
Burchett says this will be a national security issue for any future commander-in-chief.
It's an issue that cuts across all barriers and borders.
And Fox has reached out to Speaker McCarthy's office to find out what his thinking is on that request for a select committee on UAPs. We have not heard back yet. On Capitol Hill, I'm Aisha Hasni, Fox News.
Still ahead, consumers are using a new tool to manage their personal finances. And the use of AI in classrooms is causing a divide among educators.
Well, we did end up having some excessive heat warnings and a couple of heat advisories out there, mainly for our southern counties, because after our morning rain, we were left with some somewhat muggy conditions out there. But the good news is it didn't last long. Those were cleared out. They were going to expire at 7, and they were out before 7. And we got an absolutely beautiful next several days across the area. So as we head through the rest of this evening and into the overnight, Future Track, we've run it through a couple of things, and it is having a hard time picking up on it, but we could see a stray shower or thunderstorm overnight tonight into the very early morning hours on our Sunday. And then through our Sunday, we're looking at partly cloudy skies and the possibility of a stray shower or two, but for the most part, we are going to remain dry, and we are going to remain cool as well over the next several days. And I mean, it's still going to be warm, but by cool, I mean below average. We also are keeping an eye on tropical depression number 10 out in the Caribbean. As this begins to move on off, the movement's been relatively stationary, but it is eventually expected to track off to the northeast into the Gulf and toward parts of Florida, and it is expected to strengthen to hurricane strength at 75-mile-an-hour winds as it moves into the Gulf and heads toward the Florida Panhandle and into southern Georgia. It could still be tropical storm strength before it eventually begins to weaken as it heads off into the Carolinas. So something folks down to the south definitely keeping an eye on as this tropical depression continues to strengthen. So our rain chances over the next 24 hours, this is what I'm talking about. They're very slight, but again, a stray shower or two possible with better chances for maybe a shower or thunderstorm as we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Check it out. Looking at lows about 70 tonight. Could see some gusty winds as well. Northeast 5 to 10, maybe gusting upwards of about 25 miles an hour. As we head into tomorrow, again, for the most part, we should be dry, but we could see a stray shower. Otherwise, partly cloudy, 84, so below average by about 5 degrees. And we'll see a northwest breeze at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And going through our Sunday, take a look at this. Just absolutely beautiful. We're talking almost 20 degrees cooler than where we spent the majority of last week. And again, our rain chances, just a closer look, 7 to 7 tomorrow. You can see where we have just those ever so slight rain chances out there across the area. So otherwise, better chances in the morning. We're talking low to mid 80s as we kick into next week. So again, keep in mind our average high is about 89 degrees for this time of year, and we are well below that. Partly cloudy skies looking great, and some of our overnight lows, look at that, dipping back into the upper 50s and lower 60s. So you'll finally be able to give your air conditioner a break out there and save a little money on your electric bill. Now, as we head into the weekend, we are looking to warm back up slightly above average as we start to go low to mid 90s, but still not anything like the triple digits we've seen over the last week and a half across the area.
Coming up in sports, Joplin High School softball takes on the HILLCREST Hornets. Brock Baldridge will have the scores.
Well, can you believe it? It's finally here. College football is officially back in the state of Kansas. Now, we're still a week away from Division I and Division II teams kicking off, but the Kansas Jayhawk Community College Conference is now up and rolling. Independence Community College is opening their season at home against Iowa Central early in the first quarter. Anthony Pennis intercepts this pass, and the Pirates get a big turnover right out of the gate. That will lead to a field goal, which gives ICC a 3-0 lead. Now Iowa Central will start to settle in now. Next possession, quarterback Justin Silverstein goes over the top to find his receiver Mario Sanders for the touchdown. 7-3 Iowa Central. The Tritons are up 14-3 late in the first half. Then Silverstein finds his receiver. He looks like he's initially stopped, but his offensive line pushes him in the end zone. Touchdown Iowa Central. They go up 21-3 at half. Second half now, Tritons have the ball. The ball pops free. Pirates pick it up, and Damian Ordonez will return it all the way to the house for a touchdown. ICC would miss the extra point. So fourth quarter now, 28-9 Iowa Central. Fourth and long, but Independence can't connect on the big play. Turnover on downs. Iowa Central hangs on the rest of the way as the Tritons beat Independence 28-15. Elsewhere in the KJCCC, the Coffeyville Red Ravens opened their season on the road at Highland Community College, taking on the Scotties. This game was a defensive battle from start to finish, but the Highland Community College Scotties came out on top at the end as they beat the Coffeyville Red Ravens 20-14. We now turn to pro football as the Kansas City Chiefs are wrapping up their final preseason game of the year, going against the Cleveland Browns. It's also the first game back at Arrowhead since the Chiefs won the AFC Championship game back in January, and I think we all know what proceeded after that. Chiefs at home against the Cleveland Browns, first quarter. Quarterback Deshaun Watson drops back and completes this to David Njoku for the touchdown. Browns flexing their muscles early, up 15-3. Late in the first, same score. Watson, pocket collapses, Well, he finds Amari Cooper streaking down the sideline for 53 yards. Cleveland scored on this drive later. They led 29-16 at halftime. So to the second half now. Quarterback Blaine Gabbert with a deep pass to Amir Smith-Marset. 43 yards for the touchdown, Kansas City. Chiefs hang on to win this one 33-32 thanks to a Browns missed field goal late in the game. Well, we've covered pro and college football so far on this Saturday, but wait, there's more. Big 8 high school football in Missouri continues this evening as the CASSVILLE Wildcats open their home opener tonight in Cassville. Cassville going up against Hollister tonight. These teams opened their season against each other last year. They do it again this year. Cassville wins this one convincingly, the final score of 44-6. Now, the beginning of the fall sports season screens football coverage, but in the state of Missouri, that also means softball. And that was the case this weekend for a tournament taking place in Aurora, Missouri. The Joplin Eagles are in action this evening in Aurora for a tournament. Joplin split their doubleheader yesterday. Today, Joplin is taking on Hillcrest in game 1 of that one. Joplin dominated that game 15-0 as they beat Hillcrest. So Joplin sticks around to complete the final game of the Aurora tournament. And they take on the Branson Pirates, who have been good early this season. Joplin loses that one 12-3. So the Eagles start the season 2-2. They will rest up before their home opener this Monday against Kickapoo. Elsewhere in the same tournament, Carl Junction opens their season this week in Aurora. The Bulldogs had a doubleheader this morning going against the Branson Pirates in game 1. Carl Junction loses that one in a high-scoring battle, 12-11. Then over to game 2, the Bulldogs take on the Hillcrest Hornets. Carl Junction keeps the hot offense going in that game as the Bulldogs take care of business, winning that one 11-3. CJ is now 3-1 to start the season. Best start in school history to a softball season since 2009. It wasn't just the Aurora tournament that had some of our local softball teams in action today. McDonald County, QUAPAW, and Webb City all got together in Anderson, Missouri to kick off their seasons. McDonald County opening their softball season at home earlier this afternoon, hosting a couple of local 4-state schools. Mustangs come out on top to beat QUAPAW 12-2. QUAPAW stuck around to play for Webb City in a doubleheader. Webb City came out victorious in this one to win their first game of the year, 11-1. Over now to McDonald County versus Webb City. They get a crack at each other now. Cardinals played well in both of their games this afternoon. Webb City gets the best of McDonald County, winning this game 11-7. So the Cardinals move to 2-0 on the season. We'll be back with more news right after this.
Class is back in session, but will AI be on the roster? Fox Business Network's Lydia Hu has more on how schools are using AI.
ChatGPT is a genie that you can't put back into the bottle. It's a type of AI that is generative. In other words, it creates new materials.
It's back to school, and artificial intelligence is no longer the new kid in class. ChatGPT launched last fall, dividing educators over if and how students should be using AI technology for learning. AI can be used to give tailored feedback on student assessments while still keeping teachers in the loop. But students may also use it to write essays without using critical thinking. AI is still developing, so experts warn it may be biased or inaccurate at times.
We need to put in guidelines early to make sure that it's ultimately an asset to education.
AI policies for public K-12 schools are usually implemented at the district level, while universities typically leave it up to the professors. This Emory University professor believes his older students can use it to draft assignments, then focus on refining them with a human eye.
Let's try to use these things productively in the classroom.
Some K-12 schools have prohibited ChatGPT, but students of all ages may still find ways around bans.
So having a direct conversation with them the same way that you hopefully talk to them about cell phone use, this is particularly important.
The public school district here in New York City banned ChatGPT back in January, but reversed that policy months later. In New York, Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
Some Americans may be ready for a generous helping of artificial intelligence for tracking a major task. A study says 43% of American consumers are comfortable with generative artificial intelligence and would use it if it helps them solve financial problems like debt, budgeting, managing expenses, retirement, and savings. Credit experts say generative intelligence models can help consumers get answers when financial planners aren't available. The study says about 1/3 of consumers who've used generative AI before trust it more than human help. Up next, calling all canines. Today is National Dog Day, and organizations are providing special treats to celebrate your pup. Every dog has their day, and one organization has treats to help celebrate it. The National Peanut Board reminds pet owners that today is National Dog Day. The board has created 6 special treats: peanut butter Pop-Tarts, pumpkin peanut butter woofles, green pooch smoothie, perfect peanut and salmon bowl, Pup's Lazy Sunday, and a charcuterie board. All the treats are peanut safe for your pet. If you want to whip up some treats yourself, go to nationalpeanutboard.org/recipes.
All right, so again, as we head into tomorrow, a few morning thunderstorms possible. Otherwise, we're looking pretty well. Partly cloudy skies. We're going to be below average the next several days. Highs low to mid 80s. Overnight lows even into the upper 50s, lower 60s. So give the AC a break, open the windows, and enjoy these pleasant temperatures.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with photos of pups from all around the 4 states in honor of National Dog Day. We'll see you back here next time. Thanks for making us part of your night.